Rights Act 1964. The Voting Rights Act, signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson on August 6, 1965, aimed to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising the right to vote under the 15th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The act significantly widened the franchise and is considered among the most far-reaching pieces of civil rights legislation in U.S. history. Lyndon Johnson assumed the presidency in November 1963. In the presidential race of 1964, Johnson was officially elected in a landslide victory. During the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, voting rights activists in the South were subjected to various forms of mistreatment and violence. One event that outraged many Americans occurred on March 7, 1965, when peaceful participants in a voting rights march from Selma, Alabama to the state capitol in Montgomery were met by Alabama state troopers who attacked them with nightsticks, tear gas, and whips when they refused to turn back. Some protesters were severely beaten and others ran for their lives. The incident was captured on national television. In the wake of the brutal incident, Johnson called for comprehensive voting rights legislation. In a speech to a joint session of Congress on March 15, 1965, the president outlined the devious ways in which election officials denied African American citizens the right to vote. Blacks attempting to vote often were told by election officials that they had gotten a date, time, or polling place wrong, that they possessed insufficient literary skills, or that they had filled out an application incorrectly. Blacks, whose population suffered a high rate of illiteracy due to centuries of oppression and poverty, often would be forced to take literary tests, which they inevitably failed. Johnson also told Congress that voting officials primary in southern states had been known to force black voters to recite the entire Constitution or explain the most complex provisions of state laws, a task most white voters would have been hard-pressed to accomplish. In some cases, even blacks with college degrees were turned away from the polls.